How's it going? It is Mythos, and today we're taking a look at EVPs. Now later on in the video I want you to play a game with me.
I want to play a game.
And see what you think some of the EVPs are actually saying. So let's get into this. So as you've most likely seen, most paranormal investigators out there are using some kind of voice recorder to capture voices of spirits talking back to them. They'll ask a series of questions, leaving gaps in between the questions so the spirits can answer back. But are there really spirits talking back through these voice recorders? A good while ago now, maybe 15 or 20 years, I used to watch Derren Brown a lot, and I watched an episode where he was debunking EVPs, and it was an awesome watch. I do highly recommend you go back and check it out.
EVPs are static, I'm like, well then how the fuck does static talk? How does static say no? How does static say yes? How does static say the fucking person's name? But bottom line is that there's shit in this world that can't be explained. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
So ever since then, I've always thought these EVP devices were just a load of rubbish. But the past few years, my mind has changed when I started seeing people using a certain one called the Panasonic DR60. Well, I rewatched that Derren Brown episode recently, and guess what device the ghost hunter is using for his EVPs? I couldn't believe it! The people who use the DR60 say that the law behind this thing is that it had to be recalled by Panasonic after it was so sensitive it was actually picking up voices that were not even there. People started to believe that it was picking up the voices of spirits. And while that is an awesome story, it isn't actually accurate. After looking into this myself, I've came across some articles saying that the real story is that it was discontinued by the company but not recalled, but it was because it was picking up random things like you might move, shuffle your feet, accidentally scrub your hand over the mic, shuffle your coat, lean back in your chair, all kinds of things like that. It was mainly the auto roll feature on the device, so when it picks something up it will automatically play it back at full volume to match your voice. So a slight scrubbing of a shoe down on the floor, it might pick that up and play it back super loud. So it just became problematic to use. Imagine a businessman walking around a room, pacing backwards and forwards, taking voice notes, and in between what he's saying, it's actually picking up his footsteps, his shirt scrubbing past his waist as he walks. That's just not going to be a good device to use. The funny thing is though, like I mentioned, people thought these were actually voices and could hear words. And as I said earlier, the past few years after watching certain people use these, I've actually been fooled into thinking this myself. Now, I'm not saying these people are fakers or anything like that. They believe they are catching voices, and that is totally fine if they believe that. But unfortunately, I personally don't think that that's what's actually happening. Exploring with Josh is a big believer in this thing. He uses it all the time, and Josh's channels is probably my favourite. I watch every single video. I just don't jump out of my seat anymore when he pulls this thing out.
What did he say?
As I remembered that old Derren Brown debunk that I watched all those years ago. The problem is, and why I started to believe that they were capturing real EVPs, is because all of these channels put the words on the screen that they think the EVP said. And once you read that word, it's very hard to not hear that word. This is something called auditory pareidolia, and it's a situation created when the brain incorrectly interprets some random patterns as being familiar patterns.
This speaking piano shows a similar phenomenon. It's hard to make out what it's saying, but as soon as words are on screen, you begin to hear it talking. Hearing is all about perception. After a sound wave hits your ear, it's transformed into signals for your brain. But your brain gets so many external signals that it can't process it all at once, and so it uses context to craft what you're hearing.
When you're watching these paranormal investigators and they ask, for example, "Did you die here?" The answer to that is most likely going to be a yes or no, isn't it? So you're going to expect to hear something like that. If you hear a quick little then you could take that as a yes or no. So what we're going to do now is play back some EVPs and see if you can make out what they are. And through the sequences, what I'm going to do is play it so you can hear it, play it so you can hear the initial question from the investigator, and then play it so you can see the words on the screen and try and see how it affects you over the time of listening to it. And see when you've seen the words, does that make you think that's what you heard?
Can you scream one more time into this device? Can you scream one more time into this device? I can't. Wow. Holy bro.
Dude, I am shaking.
This is insane.
Is that you by the closet moving things? Is that you by the closet moving things? Yes, now get out? Hang on, no way.
Is there a shadow spirit that wanders around this school? Is there a shadow spirit that wanders around this school? What the f***?
How old are you? How old are you?
I heard it clear as day.
It was a woman too.
No, yeah,
60.
Yeah.
So there we go, guys. Did you make out what those EVPs said at first? Or did you kind of only hear it once you had the words on screen and then it made your mind think that's what it said? I don't know about these things, guys. I would love it if this was real. It would be so cool. I just can't say it is, to be honest. Whenever anyone pulls this out anymore, I always just close my eyes and try to hear the word, but to be honest, all I can ever hear is just static. Then I'll go back, see the word on the screen, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it did sound like that, but only after I've seen the word. Alright guys, so have you got any other devices you want me to take a look at? Any devices I should get myself and test out? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.